forward to the next group, which is annotation and layers, I'm just going to go over a few touches or a few things over draw. Now, of course, we've covered most of the modifying tools. There's way more details to that. If you press on the arrow next to trim, for instance, you can see that there's more to trim and there are more options. Instead of trimming, you can expand or extend a line to reach a certain point. If you press on the arrow next to fillet, then you can chamfer, you can blend curves and so on. And if you press on the arrow next to array, as we mentioned, you can either repeat your objects based on a curve, or you can arrange your objects in a polar array or that looks like a circle. So please go ahead and start playing around with these, just explore them. There are also more modifying tools. They're not main modifying tools, but please feel free to play around with them and explore them. The same also applies for the draw group. Now in the draw group, there is one more thing that I would like to cover, or a few more things that I would like to cover. If you type C for circle, you will be seeing the command line that says specify the center point for circle. So if you know the center point, then you press it right here. If you don't know the center point, then feel free to go to the 3P or 3-point and 2-point, or to the TTR, which is tan, and radius. And that depends on what are the points and what are the measurements that you know about your circle. Right now, I'm going to choose this to be the center point of the circle. And then it says specify the radius. So if I know the radius, this is where I input it using my keyboard. Or if you know the next point, then you can simply click on the next point and it will automatically be drawn. That's it. It's as simple as this. I'm going to draw the circle again with the radius, so I know the center point is here, and say I want the radius to be 25 units. So I'm going to type 25, hit enter, and that same circle is drawn. I only place different inputs and different prompts to the command line to draw my circle. The next command that I would like to cover is the arc. So ARC for arc, it's pretty much similar to the circle. So once you type ARC, it will activate, and you hit the enter button, obviously. You activate the arc command and it says specify the start point of the arc. So this is my start point. And then it says specify the second point. So say I want my arc to come here and to touch this rectangle. And then the third point can be, say, this point or any other point. And there, it's as simple as this. I have my arc. Similar to circles, you can also edit. So you can say I know the center. So I type C right now. And I want my center to be right here. And I want the radius, or the starting point, sorry, of my arc to be right here. And you can see how now I can start drawing my circle, my arc, based on the input commands that I have given. I'm going to move towards the rectangle command. I'm just going to erase these using E for erase, as we mentioned. Select your objects and then right click. I'm going to type rectangle, REC for rectangle. And then it says specify the first corner, so I can specify with a short click. And then the next corner can be over here. Alternatively, I can specify the area, as you see at the bottom in the command line. I can specify the area of the rectangle or the dimensions. Right now, I'm going to type D for dimensions because I know the dimensions of my rectangle. And I'm going to click on enter. Notice how it's now asking me to specify the length of the rectangle. So I'm going to keep this 15. And then I'm going to hit the enter button. Then it's asking me to specify the width of the angle of the rectangle. So I'm going to keep this 5. I'm going to hit enter. Now it's asking me to specify where exactly I want my rectangle to be drawn. To do that, I'm just going to move my cursor to the side where I'm happy with my rectangle. And I'm simply going to click with my left button on the mouse, just a short click, to tell AutoCAD that I want the rectangle to be drawn right now. So this is where I'm drawing my rectangle. Now I'm ready. My next command is the polygon command, or if you click on this arrow right here next to rectangle, you will be able to allocate your polygons. Alternatively, you can type polygon on your keyboard, and it will ask you to specify the enter the number of the sides. So I'm going to draw a hexagon, which is made of 6 sides or 6 edges. Once I'm done, I'll hit the enter button, and now it will ask me to specify the center of the polygon. So say I want the center to be right over here at this point. So I'm going to short click on my left button on the mouse, and then it's asking me to enter an option. Do I want it inscribed inside the circle, or circumscribed outside the circle or about the circle. In my case, I'm going to go for inscribed. So I'm going to type I for inscribed. And now I can specify either the radius of the circle or the point where I want my hexagon to be. So I'm going to say I want the radius of the circle to be, say, 10 units. So if I draw the circle with the same center, with a radius of with a radius of 10, I'm going to go back and type 10. You can see that my hexagon is exactly on the inside of the circle. Now, if I have chosen my hexagon, so I'm going to type this again and go to Polygon, and I'm going to choose six sides as well, and I'm going to specify the center to be the same center, which is right here, and I'm going to choose circumscribed around or about the circle, or I'm going to type C. And the radius of the circle we said was 10, and you can see the difference between the two. So this is inscribed, and this is circumscribed around the circle. Next is hatching. Now, hatching is a slightly advanced command, but since it's there, we might as well cover it. Just a little disclaimer. Hatching is normally placed on a separate layer, and we'll talk about layers in the next tutorial. So please keep watching to know what layers are if you haven't already. Now, H is for hatch, and I'm going to click on enter. Now, it's asking me to pick an internal point. It's important to note that for hatch to take place, we need a closed area. So I can't press outside because this is an endless workspace. So AutoCAD cannot process all that information, and it's endless, and it cannot hatch it all. So I need a closed area. So I can either press inside this shape, or this shape, or this shape, or this shape, but it has to be a closed shape. If you press and AutoCAD is not taking the command, just check your corners, make sure that they are properly closed, and your hatches are should be there. Once I click inside with a short click using my mouse, and you see that my hatch is there, now it automatically starts a new tab that says hatch creation, and now I can change the kind of hatch that I want. I can also change the color of the hatch that I want, whether it's hatches, whether it's lines, whether it's solid hatch, whatever it is that you want. You can also edit the angle, so you can see that the angle changes. You can also change the scale, so make it 2 times as big as it was. Change the scale until you are happy with what you like. Now notice that these lines are treated as a single object, so that is a hatch. Okay. Again, you can copy hatches, you can move hatches, and you can erase them. Right now I'm going to erase my hatch, and I'm going to keep my drawing as outline with no hatches. Remember that hatches sometimes make the file a bit too big, and they might cause processing problems, so do your best to keep the hatching on a separate layer so you can turn it off whenever it becomes too crowded. Please go ahead and play around with the draw groups. Some of these are concerned with drawing 3D elements, so please avoid working with 3D right now. Go ahead and play with the ellipses and different shapes. If you have any questions, again, write them down, and I'll be happy to answer them during class. Right now, I'm going to stop this recording, and we'll move on to the next group, so you can follow up in the next tutorial.